What's really too bad is it'd be a nice spot for a new settlement. In fact, I know some folks that'd love to set up there if it was safe. If you could make sure the old workshop there is still in one piece, anyone who decides...
Hello everybody, and welcome to part 5 of beating Plants vs. Zombies 2 with only Shadow Plants. Previously on Dragon Ball Z, we busted inside of both the Neon Mixtape Tour and also the dinosaur people politely yet firmly to leave, leaving us with only 2 worlds left and our battle was officially won. Starting off with the last heavy contender for being a run-ender, we have Big Wave Beach. Now, Big Wave Beach in its entirety has a handful of zombies capable of ruining everything. The problem is, especially in latter days, these zombies become very persistent, and additionally, this is the most restrictive map-wise world in the entire game, requiring any plant right of the water line to be planted on a lily pad, or be aquatic in itself, or eventually risk being drowned. This can pose a huge issue as, although rare, there are a few worlds that in this map that are completely underwater. These opening days, as predicted, wouldn't pose any real threat to me, as there was plenty of land for me to plant on, which allows me to not worry about the fact that shadow plants don't really have any aquatic variants until later on. We actually don't have any problems at all up until we get to day 7, to first plan your defense of Big Wave Beach, where I officially introduce the final member of the team, Dragon Brood.
We are the slut dragons. We live in these slut caves where we fuck and eat.
Dragon Brood is basically a stronger Dusklobber that automatically targets 3 lanes even without being powered, and when it is powered, its strong attack becomes an attack that also douses the zombie in frog chemicals. It does have some downsides with it shoots much slower, and unlike Dusklobber, it can't target submerged enemies or umbrella zombies, but all in all, it's still a very powerful addition to our arsenal. Glad to have the entire crew here now. Anyways, day 13 is a sun production day, so we break the seal on Moonflower, and doing so we are able to breeze right through the day after we get our power grid set up. Day 14, survived with the given plants, don't ask Dragon Brute what they were doing in those caves. And then we get to day 15, the first rough day of defending the endangered lane of potato mines, which is basically the same as don't let the zombies trample the flowers, except you also can't plant on that lane, which is significantly worse seeing as how we're landlocked to only 3 columns. The initial combatants are going to be more of an issue than usual, seeing as how we can't just gloom bind 2 lanes and be completely defended for the first minute or 2 while our sun goes up, and our only way to attack the submerged zombies is either by Dusklobber or nuking half the map with Dragon Brutes or Dusklobber's plant food. Mercademia Nut could stall them, but it's largely off the table, since once again no lily pad, so it'll instantly die come the water, and I would say at around the 10th try mark, I finally waved the first white flag of 3, being allowing me to use concealment. Largely, it just ended up protecting me early game to make sure I would have more sun to sling around, but after a few more tries, that ended up making all the difference, and we were able to get past this nightmare of a mission. Day 16, Ultimate Battle Wave, concealment takes direct orders from Wagstaff, don't starve. Day 17, I learned, or rather remembered, that when Dragon Brutes die, they split into 3 separate baby Dragon Brutes that continue fighting in its stead. I'm not sure how useful this will be in the end, but it's a welcome addition for now. Day 18 got me conveying on my belt till I skip. Day 19, most plants pick, so we went Dragon Brute and Gloomvine, and even with all the submerged zombies, having more than enough firepower from the Dragon Brutes to shell the zombies hard enough to make Napoleon Bonaparte blush. Day 20, the entire map is submerged, and this map seemed a lot more intimidating than it actually was. With enough Dragon Brutes, I once again was able to shred pretty much all the armor in the area, and tactically placing Mercademia Nuts on lily pads so that they could hit the scubas. Even the Estrogen Gargantuar at the end got shelled to death. Day 21 is a conveyor belt anomaly that causes anyone to forget the existence of it after they stop talking about it. Day 22 presented us with the fishing zombies, who are particularly nasty, being able to pull plants along the line slowly, and having rather high health as well. This makes them extremely dangerous rangers against us, capable of costing me tons of sun, not only to replace what they break, but to destroy them before they pull my plants to their deaths. Day 23, protect 3 banana cannons, with the main concerns to their lives being the fisher zombies, but this can be easily countered by simply targeting the fishers with the banana cannons. There's also some Gargs, but we have Dragon Brutes plant food for that, and also there's banana cannons. Day 24 was a... Wait a minute, did we skip day 21? Day 25, lose no more than 10 plants, spend no more than 3,000 sun. Octodad shows up trying to ruin everything. I respond by nuking the entire map several times, with Dragon Brute, then get arrested for war crimes and the day is done. Day 26, I can't help but feel like we might have done something on day 21, but I just don't remember. Then we get to day 27 being the second totally underwater mission, and this one was pretty rough, having us lose twice in a row just due to the snorkel zombies and the octo zombies area denials, by forcing Psycho Squids on everyone. The Dragon Brute splitting did become somewhat useful here, kind of, but largely the solution in the end just turned out to be me blowing all my plant food on the previous waves and letting the lawnmowers do most of the work for the finale. Day 28 was don't lose more than 5 plants, with the most likely casualties being the lily pads I got for free, but Dragon Brute's been a clutch for pretty much this entire world, and thankfully, thanks to them, that ended up not even being a problem in the end. Day 29 told me to plan my defense, so I planned to bomb them back to ashes with Dusklobbers and Dragon Brutes, because once again, for some reason, Dusklobbers can hit literally everything. And then we get to the second hard day of Big Wave Beach, being protecting a wave of Guacodiles on the back lane. Now the big problem for this day is not the horde, nor is it really the water or the lack of room, but the fisher zombies throwing their little fishing lines, instantly destroying the day.
What the heck?
I was originally convinced we could do this without Moonflower, and possibly without Concealment, but after 6 or so tries, my stubbornness was waning, and I sought to use Concealment in a desperate attempt to block the Fisher zombies. Unfortunately, even that wasn't enough, because there were also these stupid, insufferable surfers who come in an entire wave, and can instantly destroy everything in front of them, even if they die before they get there. A majority of my losses were literally just surfer zombies making it far enough to activate their stand, and instantly fail me because they auto-murder anything they get close enough to, and I was just coping to try and destroy them in time with Dragon Brutes. Eventually, I gave in and decided to just use Moonflower to power grid the entirety of day 30, and even then it wasn't exactly a breeze. So, yep, that means it's official. This challenge is officially legit now. Day 31 survived with the given plants, and with day 32 being Dr. Zomboss, who's now a shark furry, and now we're done with the Big Wave Beach. And moving on to the finale of the 10 worlds, modern day, also happening to be the native world of a majority of the shadow plants, so naturally the answer to most of the days here would automatically be yes, that you could beat them all with shadow plants, as that's the general rule of every world, that they can be beaten with the plants you get there. Though we all are also measuring without Moonflower most days, so let's keep going anyways. The main gimmick of modern day being rifts open up periodically that cause zombies from any other world to join in, and they'll also show up in normal waves. And modern day has its own handful of rather nasty zombies too, but early on we won't exactly sweat that all that much. Our first obstacle, or rather day of note, comes on day 6, where I'm tasked with producing 4,000 sun. Funnily enough, this day is actually doable without Moonflower, because the 10 zombie makes a comeback, and I can just stall them forever with Mercadamia Nut while we produce on the sun tiles. And day 7 becomes our first loss, with Octodad as well as the breakdancing zombies and the jesters, all making an appearance, so naturally having 2 different deniers with a handful of other nonsense mixed in, made this whole day severely lacking when it comes to breathing room. Not undoable though, and we get to our second try, just with tactical Gloomvine and Shadow Pea placement. Day 8, stupid bejeweled day. Just replace the gameplay here with the Am hate monologue. At least the next day won't be in there. Wait, no, day 9 was another Pleepix Plants wave.
Hate you since I began to live.
Day 10 was an unholy cacophony of mech spam, including the disco mechs that relentlessly hoarded me halfway through the game. Surprisingly enough, though, I somehow managed to survive, even though for some reason Dragon Brutes don't attack airborne enemies. Everything else, though, the Dragon Brutes can slowly poison to death, and even nuke if they get too close. And things went relatively smooth from here for a handful of days, and even though I think modern day is flawed, I generally like it as a finale, even though it's just mainly because there's just so much unit variety, so weird combos are made among the zombies, even with things like dinosaurs making appearances, even though they're not zombies themselves, and largely don't even align with them. Nevertheless, modern day is probably the most interesting of a roguelike variety. Day 15, we get to our second loss with the included display of the balloon zombies, who are particularly insufferable due to their high health and fast speed, and once again Dragon Brute can't hit them, meaning the only thing that's really fast enough to take them down in time is that of the Shadow Pea shooter, or a total puddle of Gloomvine spam. Anyways, we get through it the second time, but these beings are in fact a persistent problem. Day 16, massive attack in modern day, but I'm more concerned with what happened on day 21 in Big Wave Beach. Day 17, just more nonsense, arcade zombies come but they don't even spawn anything. And day 18, I lost the first time because one of these inhumanely powerful newspaper zombies slam rushed all the way to my back lane while my mind was preoccupied. We get it the second time around just by prioritizing Shadow Peas a little bit more, and just like that, it's done. Day 19, I don't know, I wasn't paying attention. Day 20 had sun tiles, which gave me an obnoxious advantage considering I just started stalling the opening zombie while planting on all of them to spam leech me enough sun to pretty effortlessly just finish the wave. And only 3 days later, we encounter our next big obstacle on day 21 with the introduction of the all-star or the football zombie. So, football zombies are easily the most powerful of the brute zombie types, charging in faster than any other, capable of taking a ton of abuse, and also occasionally bringing with them an exploding imp to potentially KO a plant on tap. We have two main ways of dealing with them in an actually effective manner, either one, instantly destroying them with a Grim Rose, or by shutting down their charge with a cheap plant like a Shadow Shroom, and letting our shooters pelt them down like the rest. This is obviously a huge problem, as I have to either just let the football zombie get away if there's more than two, and activate the mower, or have them risk instantly destroying one of my actually valuable plants, in the way since I can't really actually be in two spots at once. This is combined with the fact that football zombies are also not coming alone usually, and we still have these balloon zombies and rappers, and just other generally unpleasant nonsense coming our way, which made day 21 more insufferable than doing PR for YouTube or Roblox. Thus, after about the 6th or 7th try, I finally gave in and added concealment to the arsenal, which barely pushed us over the line. And when I say barely, I mean barely this time, like I am really cutting it close here. Day 22, nonsense. No, I will not make a completely separate theory video on Bejeweled. Day 23, it looked like at first I was going to try and first try this, but since I had to spend all my loam mowers and we had two estrogen gargantuars at the end, so naturally the Octo Zombie had to ruin everything. Not a huge deal, we just adjust our strategy and get to it the second time around. Terrific, moving on. Day 24, the power tiles played absolutely no role in this mission. I didn't even bother paying any attention to them and we finished it the first time, very easy. Day 25, I can't remember if I already made the Dr. Carrot meme from Chatter in a previous challenge. Somebody go check for me and then tell me in the comments. Day 26 is just tons of heavy metal towards the end, with just tons of mechs and flyers all coming towards the end. Just flying across the sky like tons of planes, not knowing that I don't have enough to stop all of them.
Here they come, screaming across the sky. It's lots and lots of tanks and planes. It's the greatest collection of combat.
We get it the second time, but once again, this is with us using almost everything we have, which is good because that means it's actual challenge hit points. Day 27, get out of my head, get out of my head, get out of my... Day 28, for another Produce Sun mission with sun tiles, but unfortunately this one actually isn't doable without Moonflower, as there's no tents to infinitely stall at the end. Not a big deal though, we just pop the Moonflowers down and the day is one is no time. Day 29, they're really making me drag my feet towards the end here. Day 29 is another really bad one, complete with football zombies, kamikaze amps, rappers, newspapers, and graves placed all around the map, but since all but one of my shooters can shoot directly past them, that last part doesn't really matter. But yes, this was once again another total lockdown of resources, preventing me from ever effectively fighting back just due to all the disabling speed and insta-KO zombies, and so I just started desperately throwing strategy at the wall, hoping something would stick. Nightshades, Dusklobbers, Shadow Pea Shooters, it just wasn't enough. So unfortunately, once again, I had to bust out concealment onto the team to help out, and once again, we were only barely able to make it towards the end with it. But we only have 2 days left from here, and we already had to bust out Moonflower once. But day 30 decided to make that Moonflower twice, because there's no way I was beating this without it. This is something that I had to break on my Parasites only playthrough too, having to throw everything I had at it. I didn't have to do it with the Summoners, but I did come close there, and even then that was mainly because of Guard Shroom. Anyways, I know I'm right because this was a pain in the ass even with Moonflower. I was actually even getting a little bit worried because I was still failing today even with Moonflower, which meant this was now a potential run-ender, which would be obnoxiously anticlimactic considering we're literally at the end of the challenge. But after about a handful of more tries and me eventually giving up on a traditional plan and just resorting to spamming Shadow Plumes as soon as I get them, we finally break through even after 3 mowers anyways, and we had successfully made it past the hardest day in this challenge. Day 31 is part of the challenge, but compared to day 30, it's just a glorified victory lap, so there's not really much to mention other than I first tried it, and with the only thing left to do being to finish inside of Dr. Zomboss, we were officially done with the Shadow Plants Only challenge. So to answer the question, can you beat Plants vs. Zombies 2 with only Shadow Plants? Yes, you can. It does get hard at some points, especially if you don't have a moonflower, but other than that, shadow plants mostly have an answer for everything, and even come with their own sun producer, who is also the only producer in the game, separate of Enlightenment family. I'm not sure how many people actually use shadow plants, but I wouldn't be surprised if a few people run nothing but shadow plants as their preferred kit. All in all, I knew this challenge would likely be doable, but now we have it in writing. But if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more like it, please leave me a comment down below letting me know your thoughts as well as what you'd like to see next, both Plants vs. Zombies and otherwise. And if you're new here, please consider subscribing as I upload new long-form content every week, as well as new shorts most every day encapsulating variety content, including challenges, guides, memes, audience participation, playthroughs, and even theories. Also, join the Discord with the link in the description as well as the pinned comment to become part of the show. With that being said, thank you all again so much for watching, and big thank you to my channel and Patreon members, and I will see you all next time.